In a car accident, Olivia Davidson had a near-death experience that changed her forever. During 15 minutes in the light, she discovered astonishing truths about racial identity and the spirituality of Black people. But what Jesus revealed to her not only changed her life, but is destined to influence millions. These revelations contain secrets capable of transforming suffering into hope and uniting distant communities. Are you ready to discover how a single story can resonate in your heart and open your eyes to a brighter future? Olivia's journey begins here. The experience I'm about to share is one of the most profound and significant of my life. My name is Olivia Davidson, and on March 15, 2023, I was declared dead for 15 minutes. This is not just any story, it's a narrative that goes beyond the boundaries of human understanding. A journey that began with a car accident while I was on my way to church. My mind was consumed with thoughts about life, faith, and the silent struggles I carried within me. The uncertainty about my racial and spiritual identity. The sun was shining brightly that day as I drove, and in a moment of distraction, everything changed. I feel that in that moment, my life split in two. The Olivia who was in the car, and the Olivia who somehow transcended that terrible event. When the impact happened, the pain was immediate but faded quickly, and I found myself floating above my own body. It was as if I had stepped out of a heavy reality, floating in a radiant light, an entirely unfamiliar space of peace and serenity, far removed from the chaos that had occurred. I didn't know where I was heading. The only thing I felt was a loving presence, an energy enveloping me in indescribable love. There, in the midst of that light, I met Jesus Christ. He was closer than I could have ever imagined, the presence, a perfect balance of strength and gentleness. As I looked at him, I couldn't help but feel all my worries and insecurities disappear. He welcomed me like a mother greeting her newborn, with a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. In that magnificent space, communication didn't happen through words. Jesus revealed something I never expected at all. He unveiled hidden truths about the divine purpose of Black people, truths I was meant to share with the world. I had always struggled with doubts about my identity, a conflict between my African heritage and my Christian faith, but in that moment, those uncertainties started to fade, making room for a new understanding. What followed was a series of visions that led me to explore the vastness of African history. I saw ancient civilizations, rich with spiritual and divine wisdom, filled with culture, teachings, and blessings that had never been fully recognized. I came to understand that the curse of Ham, often used to justify oppression, was nothing more than a distortion of Scripture. These distortions did not reflect the truth that God intended for Black people to know and share. The light around me grew brighter, and through it, Jesus revealed the beauty of our spiritual heritage. He spoke to me about how, even during slavery, Black people maintained a profound connection with the divine through songs and secret prayers. That heritage was powerful. It could not be erased by the chains of oppression or the shadows of the past. The revelation was clear. Even in suffering, a spiritual force pulsed beneath the surface. My vision widened, and I realized that everything I had questioned about my identity, my faith, and my place in this world was coming together into one single thread of divine purpose. I was not alone. My story and the stories of many others were woven into a tapestry of faith and resistance. What Jesus was sharing with me was just the beginning of a profound transformation. As I floated in the radiant light, the visions became more vivid. Unfolding before me, Jesus, with his loving and welcoming presence, guided me through a profound narrative connecting me to the past, the present, and the future. That transcendent experience gave me a clarity I had never known before. I realized I was on the verge of understanding something essential about the suffering of Black people and its place within the divine plan of God. Jesus then began to explain the distortions surrounding the curse of Ham. He revealed that this misunderstanding has been used throughout history to justify oppression and racism, but it has never reflected the true meaning of the scriptures. Skin color has never been a sign of a curse. On the contrary, it represents the diversity and beauty of God's creation. Every ethnicity and culture has a unique role in the divine plan. As I absorbed these revelations, I began to envision ancient African civilizations. It felt as if the barriers of space and time around me were dissolving, and I was traveling through history. I witnessed the majestic kingdoms of Egypt, the grandeur of the Mali and Songhai empires, and the spiritual richness of the Yoruba and Zulu peoples. Each was a wellspring of wisdom, spiritual connection, and divine blessings. These were not just memories of the past, but examples of what can be achieved when a community unites in faith and knowledge. The soft music filling the air sounded like a melody of the soul, evoking the perseverance and strength that define Black people. Jesus emphasized that even amid slavery and oppression, the spirituality of Black people has never been extinguished. Through spiritual songs and secret prayers, this heritage has been kept alive. These practices were more than acts of resistance. They were sources of spiritual nourishment. I sensed that every song still echoed within the walls of eternity, expressing a connection with God that could never be erased. He went on to show me the importance of vibrant worship in the Black churches. The emotion and intensity of worship were not excesses, as many critics claimed, but a genuine expression of faith in spirit and truth. I saw how every dance, every drumbeat, every shout of liberation was a declaration of love and gratitude to God, something that came straight from the heart. It was a celebration of life, struggle, and triumph over adversity. Amid these revelations, Jesus showed me that the suffering of Black people had a divine purpose. In his pain on the cross was a message of hope for humanity, proof that trials are not in vain, but part of something much greater. I became aware that the resilient spiritual legacy of Black people would be a guiding light in challenging times. Through my experience, Jesus was sending me the message that the true essence of Black faith, a faith forged in pain but deeply rooted in love, would be essential for guiding humanity in the days to come. With each vision, I came to understand that the history of Black people is a living testament to resilience and faith, and my mission was beginning to become clear. I could not keep these truths to myself. God wanted me to speak to the world, bringing hope and healing and helping to demystify the spiritual legacy of Black people as a divine gift, not as a burden to bear. This message was taking shape within me, and I knew in my heart that something great was planned. With every revelation that Jesus granted me in that bright place, I felt a profound transformation within me. It was as if all the weight of insecurities and doubts I had carried for so long began to dissolve, replaced by renewed strength and a sense of purpose. I was now a messenger, a voice of hope and change. Jesus showed me that the vibrant and emotional worship of Black churches was not just an expression of adoration. It was a powerful witness to the resilience of a people who, even in the toughest circumstances, managed to connect deeply with the divine. As we delve deeper into this conversation, visions continued to flow. I began to see the faces of many who suffered, but also those who glorified God. The churches functioned as true bastions of spiritual resistance. I understood that every tear shed during a song of praise transformed into a hymn of freedom. Each silent prayer in the early hours was a plea to the heavens for liberation and hope. This authentic worship, with its expressions of joy and pain, was a vital link that united the community with God and with one another. Jesus helped me understand that this involuntary suffering had a divine purpose. He revealed that this was a shared experience for all of God's children. The suffering of Black people throughout history represented a journey toward forgiveness, a path through which unwavering faith was nurtured, and the ability to love even in the face of pain was born. He showed me how this ability reflected the qualities he himself embodied in his life. The forgiveness extended to those who crucified him, the perseverance through difficult times, and the unconditional love offered to all, regardless of their flaws. Jesus' message began to come into focus as a clear vision. This heritage of suffering was not a burden, but a preparation for a special purpose within God's plan. I saw the Black community as a bridge between earth and heaven, not just survivors, but bearers of unique spiritual wisdom, a wisdom that would become vital during times of great crisis. The spiritual resilience developed over centuries would shine as a guiding light to lead humanity through the darkness. Jesus then revealed visions of the future to me, a future where the spiritual wisdom of Black people would become an indispensable resource. I saw great cities wrapped in uncertainty, led by leaders inspired by faith, courage, and compassion, rooted in African and African American spiritual traditions. There was a call for the Black community, rich in experience and teachings, to rise up and lead, offering hope not only for themselves, but for all humanity. It felt as though each of us was being prepared for a unique role in God's kingdom. Jesus emphasized that the resilience and love that define Black people are direct reflections of his own nature. He wanted me to understand that just as he embraced pain and transformed it into hope, we too have the power to do the same. He concluded with a profound message: the time for distortion was running out. The spiritual legacy of Black people was not a heritage of suffering, but a divine gift to be celebrated. I was being called to share this truth, to unravel the beliefs that fueled the pain, and to help the world recognize the beauty and worth of Black suffering as a powerful testament to God's power. As these revelations took root deep within me, I was filled with intense determination. The mission before me was clear. I would awaken from my near-death experience not just as Olivia, but as a messenger of hope and divine truth, determined to inspire healing and foster understanding. I would show the world that our story is a sacred narrative, a testament to love, faith, and resilience. As the light around me grew brighter, I realized I was about to return to reality, but not before receiving one last, profound message from Jesus. His words still echoed in my heart, and I knew every lesson he shared was a sign of what was yet to come. He wanted me to carry these truths deep in my soul and bring them into the world. Like the light embracing me, I felt uplifted but also apprehensive about returning to the physical realm. "Olivia," he said softly, his voice a gentle whisper, "your mission is crucial. You will be a light in a world desperate for hope and truth. Carry with you the message of love and pain transformed into forgiveness." In that moment of intense clarity, the visions began to fade, as if the walls of the glowing space were closing in around me. I felt my connection with Jesus remained alive within me, and I vowed never to let that light diminish. A profound peace washed over me as I looked down at my physical body lying on a stretcher, surrounded by paramedics and doctors. The chaos of reality swirled around me, but inside, I felt an indescribable calm. Waking up in the hospital was like emerging from a deep sleep. For a moment, it seemed as if everything I had known was stripped away, yet a flame had been ignited inside me, a new awareness that could never be extinguished. The pain in my body was intense, but the joy of being alive and having a purpose was even stronger. The images and messages Jesus gave me were vividly imprinted in my mind and, more importantly, in my heart. The days that followed were filled with challenges and healing, but with every visit from family and friends, I felt the presence of something greater. They were like angels sent to support me on my journey, and with each interaction, my resolve to share my experience grew stronger. I knew I had to share what I had learned and witnessed, not only about the suffering of the Nero people, but also about the greatness of faith and the bonds that exist within communities often silenced. I began to write, putting into words every revelation Jesus had granted me. Each filled page was an act of obedience to the mission entrusted to me. I wanted others to understand that suffering is not a burden, but a pathway to transformation. I wished for people to see the powerful spiritual connection rooted in our cultural heritage and how this bond should be treasured. Honored and celebrated, the reactions were varied. Some were deeply moved by my story, while others raised challenging questions that required further reflection and explanation. It didn't matter. I knew it was essential to share these truths. In every meeting and conversation, I felt I was fulfilling the divine will. Over time, more and more people gathered around me. We shared stories, experiences, and laughter. The tears shed in moments of sorrow became drops of hope and love. The prayers in churches took on a new dimension. We celebrated the power of our ancestry and the strength of the faith that united us. Reflecting on all this, I realized that my near-death experience wasn't an ending but a new beginning. My mission to spread the truth was just starting. I felt I was touching lives and planting seeds of hope where there had once been pain. Each day was an opportunity to remember that suffering has a purpose, a lesson capable of lighting the way for others. The light Jesus showed me in that sacred space would never fade. It would continue to shine, not only within me, but through all of us, a collective flame of love and faith guiding the future so we could overcome adversity together and celebrate the beauty of our legacies. Over time, the writing of my book began to grow into a movement. The pages that once held personal reflections and profound thoughts had now become a powerful testimony that touched the hearts of many. Every passing day, I felt a growing responsibility and urgency to carry forward the message Jesus had entrusted to me. It was as if the light I experienced during that near-death moment was now lighting the way for others. The church gatherings began to enter a new phase. It was no longer just about rituals, but about embracing our stories, our losses, and our victories. At every service, there was a vibrant atmosphere filled with recognition and strength, a celebration of faith that had endured countless trials through generations. I found myself at the heart of this transformation, encouraging community members to share their experiences and spiritual legacies. However, not everyone was ready to listen. There was resistance, doubt, and questions. Some opposed the idea that suffering could have a divine purpose, and I respected the pain such statements could cause. Nevertheless, my personal experience showed me that even the darkest moments can be catalysts for growth and change. So I aimed to respond to these questions with love and understanding. I understood that pain is not just an individual experience, but a long journey that many of us walk together. I spoke about a legacy of resilience and the strength that emerges from suffering, about how previous generations maintained their spirituality even in the worst circumstances. It was essential to celebrate the rich spiritual history of our people, not just as a point of pride, but as a foundation for a future full of hope. Over time, the story I shared began to cross boundaries, and invitations to conferences and meetings started coming in. I traveled to schools, universities, and religious conferences, spreading the message about the importance of faith and spirituality in communities facing challenges. I shared with young people my near-death experience and what Jesus revealed to me, always watching their reactions, their eyes bright with curiosity and hunger for understanding. It was a joy to see how my story inspired a new generation to fight for their place in the world. Social media also became a platform for my message. I used them to dispel misconceptions and help people recognize the blessings in the challenges we face. In every video, in every post, I tried to reach people's hearts, helping them understand that they were not alone in their struggles. I wanted everyone to realize that the battle for understanding and identity is part of the process of rediscovery and reintegration into society. During all these interactions, I began to notice something incredible. The light that Jesus had given me was not just mine. It was a flame meant to be shared, a light that all of us together could ignite and keep burning. The union of our thoughts, hopes, and prayers had the power to generate a strong energy, capable of tearing down the walls of oppression and prejudice. I remember a particularly meaningful moment. A young man stood up after one of my lectures, tears in his eyes, and said he finally felt heard, finally recognized in his struggle. "You've ignited a light within me," he said, "and I knew that the mission Jesus had entrusted to me was coming to life. So, with every story shared, I felt stronger and more renewed. The spiritual legacy of the Black community, which had long been overshadowed by misleading narratives, was now shining brighter than ever." Transformation was underway, and together we would continue to raise our voices, nurture hope, and celebrate the beauty of our heritage. The light was truly beginning to shine. As time passed, the movement born from my story grew, creating waves of change in the communities I visited. The message about the importance of the spiritual and cultural identity of the Black community resonated deeply, and in every new encounter, I saw not only flames igniting in people's eyes, but also transformation in their hearts. This was a phenomenon I could never have imagined. Upon waking up in the hospital after the accident, conversations in community groups began to flourish. People were ready to share their experiences, their struggles, and their victories, creating a safe space for everyone to express themselves. We reached a point where the pain was recognized, and healing began to grow through testimonies, songs, and art. We were reclaiming a sense of identity that had often been silenced. I often emphasize that every story shared was a sign of divine intervention. Our gatherings were filled with songs, prayers, and dances celebrating the richness of Black heritage. The music became even more vibrant, an anthem of love, resistance, and the joy living within each of us. It was clear that spirituality, this heritage treasured across generations, not only guided our actions but also shaped our identities. Yet a persistent challenge remained, confronting the negative narrative surrounding our suffering and struggle. Ideas like the curse of Ham or the belief that hardships indicated failure were deeply embedded in society. As a messenger, my responsibility was to dismantle these misconceptions with love, patience, and understanding. For every criticism, I offered facts, historical context, and stories affirming the true origins and beauty of Black spiritual heritage. At a pivotal moment, I was invited to speak at a large seminar focused on racial identity and the Black experience in America. The auditorium was full, and as I looked at the crowd, I felt some nerves, but also a strong sense of purpose. Stepping onto the stage, I knew I was there for more than just sharing my story. I was there to empower the community and call out deep-rooted injustices. As I spoke, I noticed a shift in the audience's expressions. They grew more engaged, more connected to my message. I shared not only the insights I received from Jesus, but also the love that filled that space. Every story was a building block for change. So as I spoke words of courage and resilience, I saw hearts opening, tears drying, and smiles appearing. The response was overwhelming. Many people came up to me after the conference to share their own experiences of faith and struggle, and I encouraged them not to hide these, but to let them shine. I formed a support group that met weekly with a simple mission: to celebrate who we are and learn from our past. Bound by a legacy of prayer and praise, I gradually came to realize the importance of having a book. Writing became an act of faith, and each chapter reinforced what I was learning and sharing. The pages became a way for many to connect with the truths Jesus had revealed to me. It was my hope that in time the voices of the people would resonate, bringing healing and light. As the movement grew and spread to new places, I knew there was much to be done, but I was also certain we were on the right path. Every step taken, every testimony shared, and every tear shed, whether from pain or joy, confirmed that the spiritual bond of Black people should never be diminished, but celebrated as a divine gift. The light Jesus showed me that day continued to shine, and together we were igniting flames of hope everywhere. With the movement's expansion, I felt the responsibility to keep carrying the message of hope and resilience. With each new day, my work grew more meaningful, and the stories shared by people laid the foundation for a new understanding of the spiritual legacy of Black people. I knew I was not alone on this journey. A whole community was rising in response to the call Jesus had given me. During one of the gatherings, a community member brought forward an idea. Why not organize an event to celebrate Black culture, a festival where we could share our music, dance, art, and spirituality? The idea was exciting and inspiring, and the energy in the room was electric. We all knew it was the right time to come together and celebrate the beauty of our identity. Preparations began. I reached out to local artists, spiritual leaders, and thinkers who shared our vision. What started as a simple idea quickly grew into a vibrant festival called Roots and Light, a full day dedicated to celebrating the contributions and history of Black people. The event was more than just a party. It was a rediscovery of the spiritual heritage that unites us. When the day of the festival arrived, the park was alive with activity. A wave of joy filled the air as people arrived wearing clothing that reflected their origins. We set up booths showcasing traditional foods, art, literature, and a variety of activities designed to engage both children and adults in our cultures. Music played from the speakers and dancers performed on stage, using their art to tell stories of resilience and celebration passed down through generations. When I took the microphone to open the festival, the energy of the crowd and the warmth of the moment filled me with excitement. I began by speaking about the importance of unity, recognizing our history and struggles, while also celebrating our victories and the beauty of who we have become. I said that we were not just celebrating the past, but looking forward with faith and hope toward the future we wish to build together. The event was enriched with moments of reflection. There was a dedicated space where people could share their stories of faith, challenges, and triumphs. Some recounted personal experiences of discrimination, but also spoke about the strength they found in community and faith. These heartfelt testimonies brought both tears and smiles, creating a profound sense of unity. One of the festival's highlights was a musical performance by a local group who sang an anthem honoring the suffering and resilience of the Black community. Their voices filled the air, reaching every corner of the park, and I couldn't hold back my tears. It was a clear testament to how music and spirituality are deeply intertwined in our culture, serving as a powerful means of healing and expression. Between moments of worship and sharing, the sense of community and connection was truly tangible. The Roots and Light Festival was not just a celebration of the past, but a symbol of a brighter future. We had come together to affirm that our spiritual heritage is not just a memory, but a living, vital gift essential for building a future filled with hope. As the festival came to a close, I watched people talking, laughing, and embracing one another. I knew that we had emerged from that day stronger and more united than ever. The movement sparked by my story was becoming an endless source of light and love, and I felt that Jesus was working within us in ways I could never have imagined. It was an acknowledgement that even in the face of challenges, there was always room to celebrate life and build bridges between the past and the future. On that day, I realized that my true mission was not just to share a message, but to create a space where healing could happen and spirituality could thrive. Together, we were ready to face the world, empowered by the strength of our stories and the power of our faith. This was only the beginning, with many stories yet to be told. The Roots and Light Festival marked a turning point for the community, its impact extending far beyond that special day. The energy generated during the event left a lasting impression, sparking a spirit of unity and empowerment that stayed alive within all of us. People started coming together more often, seeking support and sharing their lives, not only in times of hardship, but also in daily joys. As a mentor and spokesperson, I began organizing workshops and support groups where members could explore their own stories and experiences. We used art as a form of expression. Every gathering included music, dance, writing, and even painting, with local artists invited to participate. These activities soon became our guide, and creativity turned into a core part of our collective journey. Through dance, music, and murals, we rewrote our narratives and offered a fresh vision of what it means to belong to this heritage. The children were especially drawn to these activities. The joy in their eyes as they painted scenes representing their cultures and traditions was infectious. They became the driving force behind our movement. Their curiosity and energy brought new perspectives, and every time one of them spoke about the importance of honoring their traditions, it felt like ancestral wisdom was emerging through their youthful voices. From these exchanges, an idea took shape, the creation of an oral history project. We agreed it was crucial to collect and preserve the life stories of our community. We invited the elders to share their experiences and wisdom. With the help of young volunteers, we recorded interviews and documented narratives that had often gone unheard. During this process, we learned that every life is a story worth telling, filled with lessons and connections. Looking ahead, I realized that growing as a community meant not just increasing in numbers, but also deepening our understanding and relationships, all fueled by hope and spirituality. We decided to expand our outreach and began planning a new event, an annual conference that would not only celebrate Black culture, but also foster dialogues on resistance, racial justice, and spirituality. With the support of local partnerships and various social groups, we succeeded in bringing together opinion leaders, academics, artists, and activists to share their experiences. The event featured inspiring talks, panel discussions, and workshops that highlighted the importance of preserving our spiritual and cultural heritage. Each guest contributed a piece to a larger mosaic, helping to build an ongoing narrative about our identity, our triumphs and challenges. The conference was not only a learning opportunity, but also a platform for empowerment. Throughout the event, there was a powerful affirmation of faith and the role spirituality plays in our daily struggles. We reinforced the understanding that faith is a vital resource, serving as fuel in the fight for justice and equality. Amid all this energy, my heart overflowed with gratitude. I realized that the mission entrusted to me by Jesus was unfolding, and the light I had received was not only illuminating my path, but now also shining brightly for many others. This was a constant reminder that suffering, when seen through the light of purpose, can transform into hope. When experienced in community, spirituality thrives and sparks transformation. With every step, we united in celebrating the power and beauty of being Black, spiritual, and resilient. The stories that were once silenced now resonated in harmony, revealing the collective strength that blossomed through love and understanding. Thus, my journey as a messenger became a living testament that together, through our tradition and faith, we can create a clearer, more promising future. As we continued to grow and strengthen as a community, the conference became a highly anticipated annual event. With each edition, we introduced new themes and invited various speakers to share their experiences and knowledge. It was inspiring to see how each of them, with their unique stories, contributed to a mosaic of narratives that radiated love, resilience, and hope. The children and young people began to take an increasingly active role in our meetings and discussions, expressing their visions for the future. Their enthusiasm was contagious. We launched a mentoring program where more experienced members shared their insights with the younger generations, creating a powerful exchange of wisdom and fresh ideas. We learned how to help the children connect with their cultural heritage and take pride in their roots. One of the most memorable moments of our collective effort was when a group of young people decided to start a community art project in tribute to our ancestors. They wanted to give shape to the stories we heard at our gatherings and honor those whose voices had been silenced by oppression. With the help of local artists, they created a mural that covered an entire wall of our community space. This mural, with intertwined images and words, told the powerful history of Black people, from their ancestral roots to current struggles. The mural's unveiling was truly a celebration, bringing the whole community together. Children danced, adults were moved to see their stories represented, and an atmosphere of love and unity filled the air. As the mural was revealed, the young people shared how each image and word held a special meaning for them, symbolizing a connection to their identity, a reminder of the strength of their ancestors, and a banner of hope that we carry forward into the future. The image of Jesus that I still held in my heart hovered over us all, symbolizing that through faith and unity we could overcome any challenge. With every new achievement, the mission Jesus entrusted to me became clearer. I came to understand that the struggle for racial identity and spirituality was not just a personal journey, but a shared one. Whenever we shared our stories, we created a safe space where pain transformed into strength, and the anguish of generations turned into a message of love and hope. With each conference and meeting, I could see the impact we were making in other communities. Invitations to share our journey and lessons began to come from other cities and even other states. We were inspiring other communities to revive their own narratives and legacies, forming a network of interconnectedness that crossed boundaries. The impact we sought was not just to improve perceptions of Black culture, but also to foster a deeper understanding of spirituality and the connections among all of us. We began organizing spiritual retreats, spaces where we could reflect, meditate, and pray together. It was an opportunity to step away from daily distractions and find a place of healing and renewal. During one of these retreats focused on love, we were able to illuminate even the most remote corners of darkness. This mission was not only about reclaiming our past, but also about shaping the future. The spiritual legacy of the Black community, already an unstoppable force, continued to grow, and the light I had once received now shone brightly in every heart we touched. We were united on a journey not just of celebration, but of genuine transformation, paving the way for a world where our identity was recognized and celebrated as a divine gift, lighting the path for future generations. As the year went on, the community that had formed around our meetings and events was evolving into a vibrant network of support and inspiration. Every festival, conference, and retreat became a celebration of our rich heritage and a testament to the power of the spirituality that united us. I felt increasingly drawn to expand the reach of our message and start a broader conversation about racial identity and spirituality in spaces that were often less accessible to us. That's when the idea of creating a community outreach program began to take shape. We wanted to bring what we had learned at our meetings and events into schools, community centers, and organizations working with young people. The objective was clear: to reach those who might not have a direct connection to our community, but who face similar challenges. We wanted to share our stories, highlight the beauty of our experiences, and foster empathy and understanding. By showcasing the richness of our culture and encouraging empathy and understanding, we launched the program with visits to local schools, where we discussed the importance of identity and spirituality with the students. We involved artists, musicians, and speakers to share their experiences, working together to build a narrative that celebrated diversity. At each school, the students' reactions, mostly curious and open, came through in thoughtful questions and a strong desire to explore Black culture and its complexities. Through our interactions in the schools, we began to form a core group of young individuals who became ambassadors of our message. These young people organized themselves, conducted research, and presented the history and richness of Afro-descendant traditions and spirituality in their schools. This youth engagement brought new energy to our movement, introducing fresh perspectives and innovative challenges. One of the most memorable moments of the program happened during a visit to a high school, where students organized a culture and identity day, in which various social groups from different racial backgrounds shared their traditions and stories. When our group arrived, the immediate connection with the students was clear. Our young ambassadors shared personal experiences, performed dances, and in a moving moment, sang together a hymn reflecting our struggles and hopes. After the presentation, several students came forward to express how touched they were by the blend of art and storytelling. For many, it was eye-opening. realizing that the Black experience is not an isolated story, but an essential part of the cultural and historical fabric of the United States. These moments of dialogue and recognition were exactly what we aimed for, to build bridges between communities and deepen understanding through this outreach program. Social rights began to intertwine with our main goal. Many conversations opened up opportunities for collaboration with activists dedicated to fighting racial discrimination and promoting social justice. We realized that our objectives were not only aligned, but also interdependent, and that the power of our movement could grow stronger through unity. As we stepped into new spaces, I began to feel something profound. Our personal and collective struggles, though deeply familiar, resonated with many others. There was a universal fight for acceptance, respect, and dignity unfolding across different cultures. The development of our awareness program reached a pivotal moment when we started to understand that our challenges were, in fact, intercultural. At its core, what began as a personal journey of discovery expanded into a movement embracing the fight for identity and dignity for all marginalized groups. At the heart of it all, we were building a world where every voice is valued and all experiences deserve to be shared and celebrated. And on this journey, the light that Jesus showed me continued to shine, and his message of love and hope spread, enveloping each of us in a warm embrace of unity and strength. We were ready to face the future, grounded in our history, and above all, determined to keep that light burning bright. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to hear more stories like this, click on the video now appearing on your screen. After the presentation, a group of students approached us, expressing how impacted they felt by the fusion of art and narrative. For many, the realization that the Black experience is not an isolated narrative, but rather an integral part of the cultural and historical tapestry of the United States was enlightening. These moments of dialogue and recognition were precisely what we sought: the building of bridges between communities and the promotion of a deeper understanding through this outreach program. Social rights started to intertwine with our central focus. Many conversations resulted in collaboration opportunities with activists dedicated to the fight against racial discrimination and for social justice. We realized that our goals not only aligned, but were interdependent, and the strength of our movement could be amplified through unity. As we ventured into new realms, I began to notice something profound. Our struggles, both personal and collective, though intensely familiar, resonated with many others. There existed a universal fight for acceptance, respect, and dignity that manifested across diverse cultures. The development of our outreach program reached a crucial moment when we began to see that our challenges were, in fact, intercultural. At its core, what started as a personal journey of self-discovery expanded into a movement that embraced the fight for the identity and dignity of all marginalized groups. At the heart of it all, we were creating a world where every voice is valued, where every experience deserves to be told and celebrated. And throughout this journey, the light that Jesus showed me continued to shine, his message of love and hope spreading and enveloping each of us in a warm embrace of unity and strength. We were ready to face the future, grounded in our history, and more than anything, ready to ensure that this light would never fade. Thank you for your attention so far, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to continue discovering more stories like this, click on the video that appears now on your screen.